give us a presentation on her next steps and her feedback to us. I think there's a little bit of somewhat. So I'll let you have the floor now, please.
Thank you.
Oh, not yet.
No.
I need my Kleenex anyway, so.
Good morning, members of the board. For the last time, I'm Mara Childs with the State Board of Education, and this is my final presentation. And when I was given the prompt was where I was, where I am, and where I'm going. And it gave me a moment to sort of reflect on, the entirety of K-12 education, my experience. And one thing that I found that was pretty consistent was music. And so I've titled this Finding My Rhythm because I've had sort of ups and downs in education, but I've come to the place where I am today through all of those. Now for the student update, which is something I hope Madeline and Baxter will continue. At a high school level, or at a personal level for me, high school is almost over. I graduate June 14th, and our last student day is June 10th. So the end is in sight. This is a picture of my best friend Becky and myself at our homecoming assembly this year. As seniors, it's like tradition that we always win, and it's like what we look forward to. And so we got all decked out in spirit gear, and we cheered. And my mom is actually here today, and she got to be there for that assembly, which was really cool. At a school level, we just finished our the last elected position for ASB, and that's another thing that we get to do is pass the torch at the end of the year. We'll have our moving up assembly, which is called King Lotta, and each ASB officer gets to give something to the next person that represents like what the position is about. So this year I was the school board representative for our, I serve as liaison between the board and the high school. And last year we got an actual school board because they tore down our building. So I have a piece that's about this big that I'm gonna pass on to the next person, and we're just gonna all sign it as the actual school board. And and then at a district level, we participated in a walkout on Monday, and I think it was interesting for a lot of my peers to see that teachers have opinions about their job, and it affects us, and things that the state does also affects us, because when we don't have school, kids see it as a day off, but they kind of wonder why, and then it opened the conversation about funding schools and paying teachers, and I think that was, for some of them, the first time that they'd ever thought about that, so that was kind of fun. And then, of course, the only day that I'll go to school this week is tomorrow. So this is fun. This is just by the numbers. I rounded up some very random stats of my high school experience. And so I've been in choir for 4 years at my school, and that's a total of 19 choir concerts. This scary tall bar is hours of homework, and the way I calculated these was just kind of going back and multiplying and thinking about, most of these hours came from junior year because I was taking APUSH and AP11, and then I spent a lot of time reading for school. And this next one, it ties to the next one, which is 59 essays written. I included some college essays, not the short essays though, those are all pretty long. And this next bar that's a little bit high is absences in school. I have 284 period absences, and that's 116 this year alone. And we have 3 periods a day because we're on an AB schedule. I think that's a lot of school days. I will still be graduating with a 4.0 though, so I don't know. Seat time, maybe not. The next one is something that's also been very important to me since I've been on swim team and been playing water polo since freshman year. 792 pool hours. So one of the running jokes is, what smells like chlorine? Oh yeah, it's Mara. Once you live in a pool, you start to smell like the indoor pool, which is just fun sports. This next one is Starbucks. So this year we have a program called Highlander Home, which is 35 minutes every day, and it's instructional time, but it's for students. We have something called targeted intervention, which is for students to go to the class that they're failing. And so for some of us that aren't really failing classes, it's like a chance for us to catch up on things or do homework. But I prefer to do homework at home, as you can tell by this, a large amount of time spent doing homework at home. And so my friend Becky and I go to Starbucks instead. So this is 180 Starbucks runs. This next one I'm actually pretty proud of. It's my tardies. I've never been tardy to a class. This year we started Tardy Tank, which is if you have 3 tardies, you have to stay after school for an hour, and all my friends are complaining. But both Becky and myself are like, we don't get it. Like, just go to class on time. You have a 10-minute passing period. You don't have to stay after school. So, I think it's really important to me, and that's just something, like, showing up on time is something that I've learned to value. 411 apples eaten. I eat a lot of apples, and they wake you up better than a cup of coffee, actually. So maybe that's why I don't need coffee. I prefer tea. And then over here on the far right is 41 assemblies. And I've been at a lot of them. I've been in the audience for a lot of them. They've been cup assemblies, Martin Luther King assemblies, homecoming assemblies, and it's a really cool way to see the whole school come together and celebrate anything, really. We've had a lot of cool speakers come in for like anti-bullying and stuff, and this was just a fun way to show my high school experience in numbers. Highlights on the board. So being on the state board was something that, I honestly had never heard of the State Board of Education until my sophomore year, when I was approached by my activities coordinator, and she had gotten the principal's letter and that said that there was an opening for a position. And she said, I think you should apply. I think you'd be good at this. And I was nervous and excited about it because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I got the letter saying that I was going to go to Olympia and have an interview, and we gave a presentation on an educational issue. Mine was reducing class sizes, funny. And they called me later and they said that I'd gotten it, and I was really excited, but I didn't really know what I was excited for because I didn't know much about it. But I was shown very quickly how amazing this group of people is, and then by extension, in the bottom right is the AWSL board, which is the Association of Washington Student Leaders. And it's been transformational to be on that board because it was WASC when I joined, and it was when they decided to get rid of WASC and restructure and redesign student leadership. And so there have been 8 of us on this steering committee that started from the bottom. We started from why we wanted to help kids, why we were all gathered there in that room, and we built it towards something that can be carried on year after year. And Madeline and Baxter will have fun. Now that the rest of us, 8 of us have graduated, there'll be only 2 returners on the board, and they'll be the carriers of our vision. We sort of crafted this vision. It was a lot of I believe statements. It was a lot of what we want it to look like. And so they'll be the ones actually putting it into our schools. And the idea is that the 8 TCAP criteria, in the center of that circle where it says principals and successful schools are, our job is to transition that to something that says leaders and successful schools are, because we believe that we have leaders everywhere. We have leaders in band, we have leaders in DECA, and it's our job to make sure that everyone is participating, feels included, and feels like they have somewhere that they belong. Up in the upper left is both Madeline and I, when we were able to give testimony on 1031 and 1081, and on the right, on the top, is me and Kashmir. Some of you weren't here for that, but in November of 2013, Eli and I helped write an anti-bullying resolution in response to a petition. So it encouraged all schools to include students in the creation and implementation of their anti-bullying plans. And then the bottom left, of course, site visits and meeting some really awesome 4th and 5th graders, because it's never been more clear to me that leaders in schools start really early, and they're there, and we just have to be able to listen to them. This is places that I've been. I've been so fortunate to be able to travel to some really cool places, especially in the last 2 years. The first time I really went out of the state was in freshman year with choir. We went to Canada, and that was really exciting because we went out of the country. And then sophomore year, we got to go to San Francisco, which was cool because it was kind of like Seattle, but it was that, that twist that you're actually somewhere else. And then in my junior year, my mother took my sister and myself to Paris, and we got to go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower, and we spent a day in the Louvre, and it was incredible. It was really just remarkable to see how many people there were in the world that you would never even think about, really. Something that's actually just recent, to bring up Bob's point of Snapchat, actually Snapchat has a new feature called Stories, and they broadcast live stories from around the world, so you get to see everyday life in cool places like Mumbai and stuff, and it's so interesting to see what the rest of the world looks like. And then this summer, of course, I got to go to China and work in orphanages with my mother, and then in March, I got to go to Mexico and hang out on the beach, and that was really fun. And I think that what's really important about that is it's experience-based, and I got to see the different parts of the world instead of just reading about them. I mean, you see pictures, obviously, but it's so different when you're standing there and it's in front of you. Where I'm going. Yes, yesterday I did announce that I will be attending the University of Washington in Seattle, and again, I'm looking to major in business administration, probably like a finance option. I'm looking at something more managerial because I want that experience going into something like if I decide to do pre-med and go to the medical field, I'll be able to sort of work in that, medical management more so. But I'm still totally unsure. I don't really know what I'm doing. I kind of joked that I was going to run for governor, but that might not have been a joke, so we'll have to see about that one. I will also be joining the Greek system because it's, when I've talked to people, it's the way to make a big school feel small, and it's a really cool community of people that care about things and have a really great network of alumni. So I'm really excited for that, and I'm just excited to see what happens, because there are things that obviously I don't even know about. Visiting that skill center for one, seeing these kids doing real things, like, why can't I do that right now? Well, I guess I'm gonna have to go to college first, but yeah, there's so many options out there. I don't even know where I'm going, to be honest. Curriculum of life. So I've talked a little bit about the experiences that I've had, and I'll just read this. Experience is the process of doing and seeing things and of having things happen to you, skill or knowledge that you can get by doing something. And Madeline and I, if anything, we've made clear that in the high school and beyond plan, we wanted to measure experience and show what people have been able to experience for themselves throughout their life, and even what they want, because that's that and beyond, like the things that you want to experience, to be able to look at what you have experienced and to be cognizant of what you know that you haven't experienced, or even that you know that you don't know what you haven't experienced. I think that's remarkable, and to be able to articulate what you want to be able to experience or find out about in order to experience is also something that everybody, it's a skill, and not everybody is guided in that direction at first, because people that don't have experiences in certain things can't even tell someone about those experiences, because again, you don't know what you don't know. And I think the most humbling thing about being on this board is realizing that when I came in sophomore year, I feel like I had some great experience doing things. I was in that student government position. I met a lot of people at that point. I've been to leadership camp. I've just been seeing so many cool things I thought that I had experienced. But right, I told you, you come here and you talk to 14 adults that have lived for so much longer. They've met so many people and they've done so many things. It's incredible to hear your guys' stories and hear the way that you talk about things, and after so long still have such a passion to help people, and that has really shown me how much I can do for everyone. I'm really sad to be leaving you guys. Sorry. So yes, in life, I think that you should consider kindness and caring first, because I think that it's, I'll bring it back to a Dalai Lama quote that I put in one of my previous presentations, that you should be kind whenever possible, and it is always possible. And secondly, and most importantly, I believe that you should do things with fearlessness and ferocity, because courage of conviction, I told someone yesterday, pure intentions, and if you believe in what you're doing, then you have no reason to be afraid of met someone and like marketing totally needs to start with empathy, because you have to start with like everything. You want to see like what people are feeling and what they need, because to help people you have to be able to understand their needs, or at least not necessarily, if you can't understand, then you want to understand and you want to listen to them. And that's the awareness piece of understanding that people have something totally different. They've experienced something totally different to you. And that's that experience. You can't necessarily experience what they've experienced. You can listen to them and empathize with them to be aware of their experience. And that's, then you understand that's something you haven't had, but you can listen to them. And fourth, I think that pride and perfection is something you always have to keep in check. Perfection is something that I sort of struggle with sometimes, because it's really easy to think that everything's gonna be, you want everything to be lined up perfectly, but I think sometimes when I've learned the most is when things haven't gone the right way, and it's learning from that that is really important. And pride is a difficult thing. Pride and perfection are both very difficult things. We just read Pride and Prejudice, so that was fun. We heard that pride is about how you see yourself, vanity about how others see you. And I think that pride is important because, well, it's important to be confident and understand what you do and understand why you do it. You have to understand that everyone is doing that, and everyone is doing the best that they can. And so doing the best that you can is entirely honorable, but you don't have to like go around and flaunt it to people, because they're doing it too, and they're just doing it in a different way. And just because what they're doing doesn't look like what you're doing, it doesn't mean that they're doing just the same things. And finally, muscle memory. Again, say practice doesn't make perfect, but practice makes permanent. And it's like the muscle memory of not like physically doing things, but sometimes it's using that character